All right, everyone. Welcome to Unraveling the Darkness tonight. Tonight we have uh, Pocono Regional Paranormal. And they were founded in 2001 by John Keegan and Andrew McShane. They met while working at a restaurant where they discovered they shared an interest in the paranormal. So they took a trip to investigate Clinton Road, a location well known for its urban legends. The first trip marked the beginning of several years spent researching urban legends, local folklore, and reportedly haunted locations throughout the Pocono Mountains and the surrounding region there. So, tonight we're going to talk to John and Andrew of Pocono Regional Paranormal on Unraveling the Darkness. And we're going to do that a lot sooner because I don't have Jason. And gosh, he's the one that's really good with all of the media stuff when we're doing that. So we're going to bring him in now and just start. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Evening.
I'm doing good. A little discombobulated, missing my co-partner. So we're going to make it through.
Absolutely.
As soon as I can figure out how to get this. There we go. All right. Normally we have this really cool entrance and we'll probably not even do the outro because here I am and I don't pay attention. So we'll make it work.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
All right. So Pocono Regional Paranormal. That's Pennsylvania?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All
Northeast.
right. And where at in Pennsylvania?
Stroudsburg. It's right. I always joke around with people. I always go like this. I say, "This is Pennsylvania. We're the middle finger."
Before the show, you said you're about an hour and a half from New York, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that puts you up in that eastern corner there. Nice. You guys met while you were working at a restaurant, realized you shared the similar interest in the paranormal. John, let's start with you. What were your interests in the paranormal and what really got you started?
So what really got me started was when I was younger. I used to love watching Ghost Hunters and Scariest Places on Earth on ABC Family, I think it was called at the time. And then growing up, I grew up in a house that was on an old farmland, and it's used to have experiences here and there on the property as well. So I've always kind of been around it. So it piqued my interest. So when I saw when Andy told me that he was interested, I was like, "Well, we do it."
Nice. And Andy, what got you interested in the paranormal kind of starting out?
I was. It was very strange for me to become somebody that would be in this field because I was growing up. I was always the kid that was afraid of his own shadow. If I wouldn't go any place if I didn't know I could be home before dark. And then one night I was home and I started watching a show called Unsolved Mysteries, and they happened to have a few paranormal skits on that night, and I started not so much a deep dive, but every time things would come on, back then there was very few shows. There was That's Incredible, Real People, and Unsolved Mysteries. And then every once in a while there'd be a special on around Halloween. And then I found Weird New Jersey, the magazine, and that was able to show me areas maybe not too far from me that were, strange or haunted, things like that. And then when Ghost Hunters came out, that was it. That really caught my interest, and I never knew. I knew there was the Warrens that did things like that, and then I didn't think there was anybody else that investigated haunted houses. And then I saw Jane Grant, and then that show led to a whole slew of other shows coming out, and it was just one of those things when I met John, and he mentioned paranormal, and I said, "No, you're into that," and that's really what broke the ice because it wasn't like when he came in, he was actually my boss. And when he came in, it wasn't like we were like drawn like quick friends. there was a little bit of standoffishness. And then one night we were working, and that came up, and I said, "Oh, really?" And it was about, I'd say probably early October, and he mentioned that he was into and he would love to do investigations, and I said, I would love to too. And one of the most famous places in our area is just outside the Poconos, as you mentioned, is Clinton Road. And we said, well, why don't we go down to Clinton Road and see what we can find out? And it's we haven't looked back. It's been a fun ride ever since.
Right. I think, our show, we talk to a lot of paranormal teams. And I think it all goes back to everyone had always kind of wanted to do something. And then you see that OG Ghost Hunters, right? With Jane Grant.
Yeah.
And that's the one that always comes back around. And it's really interesting how almost everyone we talk to, it goes back to that. It's like no one really talked about it. They had the couple people that they were like, hey, this is pretty interesting, and I believe in. But then once they were out there and it's broadcast, like now it's good to talk about it and get out there, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Back then, if you talked about it, what are you, a nut?
Right.
I mean,
There was a
especially
bunch
when
of
I
us
was
nuts.
growing up, because we didn't have all this like YouTube channels and podcasts and things like that to say that other people are into this. It was like if you read a story in a newspaper once a year around Halloween, you were lucky, and then one of these shows would come out little by little, and then all of a sudden, like you said, Ghost Hunters just blew it up, and now it's mainstream.
Yep. Pretty cool. So you guys got together, you went out to Clinton Road for your first time, and did anything happen that first time?
No.
No.
We actually had one incident that happened. Well, there was a couple. There was one, we were parked on the side of the road, just calling out, taking pictures, and we could hear a car coming around. And now, if you've never been to Clinton Road, let me describe this road to you. It's long and dark. That's really all you need to know. And it's not an area where you can. It's about a 10-mile stretch of road, and we were about halfway down. And out of nowhere, we hear a car coming, and no big deal. It's a well-traveled road. And this guy in a Porsche pulls over, and he asks, you guys okay? You need a hand? And we tell him we're just here, investigating the legend, just checking it out. And he says, oh, nothing really much going on here. It's just a normal road with a nice story about it. You guys be safe. And then he turned around and went back in the other direction that he came from. And we're like, well, that was strange. Why would you come down halfway down this road in the middle of the night only to turn around and go back, And then there was the one paranormal thing that we did pick up on that is in the story. There's a story that headlights will come up behind you, and they won't. There's one story that they'll chase you, and there's another story that they'll just be there and disappear. And we checked it out for a while. I think it was like 5 minutes. I kept on looking in the rearview mirror, and then all of a sudden they were gone. And when we turned back around to the place where the lights disappeared, there was nowhere you could have turned around. So can't say it was paranormal because we didn't see anything. We couldn't test anything, but our ride down Clinton Road was pretty uneventful.
What is the legend of Clinton Road?
Well, it's just basically it's just a long road, and anything in this area that has a legend to it always finds its way some way to the Lenape American Indians. And this is just a long road that has a somewhat paranormal and somewhat an infamous air to it. There's a serial killer who was involved with the mafia in New York City at the time, named Richard Kuklinski, and it's confirmed that he dumped at least one of his bodies on Clinton Road. And there's the midget people of Clinton Road. There's the satanic people of Clinton Road. And one of the sadder stories is not far from Clinton Road. There used to be this place called Jungle Habitat, and it was like a big zoo, and they had dozens and dozens of animals. And they closed down in 1976, and they say they took all the animals with them. And for years, there was people that would go hunting, hiking through Clinton road on the woods, and they would see these strange animals, these hybrids that they'd never seen before. And they would report them, and then they would say, well, is this something from jungle habitat? And they would always say, no, every animal was placed in another zoo or this or that. And so the stories are, there's a lot of them. There's Crybaby Bridge. There's the story where you take a quarter and you put it on the road, and then a boy will bring it back to you. And the same legend has, if you look over the side of the bridge, the boy will push you in.
Oh,
So there's a lot of folklore, and basically that entire area, northern New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, is full of urban legends, ghost stories, roads less traveled, things like that. But it's just one of those roads that, through actual live events, through the Richard Kuklinski and people that do nefarious things in the woods, uh, one thing just leads to another. And urban legends are the same every place. It happened to somebody's friend who knew somebody that happened. So it's sometimes you're lucky to catch something, but that night we were there for about 3 hours and we didn't really get anything.
right. Yeah, lots of crybaby bridges. I was just reading something, I think last week about Crybaby Bridge, and then you start seeing all these ones across the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of those are shared throughout the country, just in kind of a little different twist.
Right.
So where else have you investigated?
So I'd say our biggest investigation that we've done to date would have to be at the Sherman Theater in Stroudsburg.
Okay.
The Sherman Theater actually opened their doors to us, and we had the entire theater plus their little side, I guess it's like a comedy room area they had. And we went in there, and the story there was, back in 1955. There was, this is reported, there was a giant flood that wiped out a better part of Stroudsburg, and about 78 people died in the area. And they opened the theater up as a shelter, and so they had all the people there in the shelter. And Andy, do you remember when we were looking? They say they actually had brought the bodies of some of the victims to the downstairs portion of that. I forget. I'm blanking off the top of my head. It wasn't a.
I can't hear anything John is saying.
Yeah,
Oh no.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just
Oh,
fine.
okay.
I can hear you clearly. I can see John clearly, but I can't hear anything he's saying.
Oh no.
Oh,
Well, he was asking about one of the areas. He couldn't remember something about one of the areas of the Strasbourg Theater.
The main areas that we had the interaction was on the stage. We had very strange activity on the stage with a spirit box. But the one thing that we tried to debunk the best we could, and I think one of our most solid pieces of evidence, is we actually caught a shadow. I was in the audience, and John was down in the green room underneath the stage, and I heard something up on the stage. I heard like a knocking, and I walked up and I just looked around and I said, I'm up here. You wanted my attention. You have my attention. And I tried to get some kind of interaction. I said, can you knock on the stage for me? And I turned back around and I panned the camera back across the audience.
Oh.
Notice anything.
Oh.
And it wasn't until about the third time I was going over the evidence about a week later, and I just happened to look up in the balcony, and I said, whoa, 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 whoa. And I slowed it down, and I slowed it down, and I enlarged it, and there's a shadow go. You can see the shadow going out the door up on the in the balcony. And I texted John. I said, listen, you got to get a hold of, I believe his name was Dan,
Dan, yes.
our contact. And I said, you got to see if you can find out where we were at this time. And I think I caught something. And he said, okay, I'll see what I can find out. And he texted me back in about 10 minutes. He said, at that time, you were in the auditorium and I was under the stage. And I said, he was in the offices. There was nobody else in the building. And he said, yeah. I said, dude, I caught a shadow. And there was nobody else. No, not only was there nobody else in that part of the building, there was nobody else in the building but John and I.
Oh,
And
geez.
it was, I mean, it's when, if it's easy to miss if you're not looking for it, but when you see, when you know it's there, it's just like, it's, it is the best shadow that we've caught in so far. And the funny thing is, there was another team that investigated that place that the guy who brought us in, he thought they didn't, they just made stuff up. They weren't doing this right, they weren't doing that right. And the funny thing is that one of the things that their biggest claim was that they caught a shadow in that area, and we basically confirmed it, you know.
Wow. So our listeners can hear everyone, just to go with that. So we may get a little overlap in a story, but that's okay. Um, so you guys were in two separate areas. One of you saw the shadow, and
Right.
there was another group that saw a shadow in the same area.
Years
Yes.
before,
Correct.
yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool. You know, we also have a paranormal group. It's pretty neat because, like you were saying, Andy, that it seemed like you weren't getting anything that the other team was getting, that this guy was saying. And we kind of did the same thing at a music venue in Denver. There was a team in there. It was the first one ever in there. Then we came in 6 months later. And this gal's like, you guys are doing this completely different. And it's like, well, every team does different stuff.
Right.
And we were getting some great evidence with the spirit box about a fire. And 2 blocks away, there was in like 1886, there was a hotel explosion. And we're like, this place might have been used as like mass casualty, right? Because you're only 2 blocks. And
Right.
with the rubble and stuff, it blew like half the block away. So the general manager and Michelle, one of our team members, starts looking, and the maintenance man was actually arrested. It was a bar at the time, and he was arrested in the bar.
Oh,
So we were getting fire, and I'm on fire, and firefighter, and all this stuff across the spirit box. And yet the maintenance man was arrested in the bar. He was acquitted because he had been telling the owners that, the boiler needs maintenance and it's more than I can do. And the owners were on the hook for the hotel explosion. But the other team that was in there never got anything close to that. And the cool thing was they were able to get on and like research it right then and see that there was this fire and that he was arrested there. So it's pretty interesting how teams can connect to different spirits, just shows that like everything's on a different plane. And maybe today you're on this one and tomorrow you're on this one,
right.
but
I think-
actually catching a shadow figure in the same area that another team did. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the cool things that we've been doing is a lot of places we've been to, we're either one of the only few people or the only group that's investigated them. So we've been to places like as far as I know, the only people that have investigated Hungry Hill. We're the
Yes.
only people that have been to the Pocono pub. We're one of only 2 groups that went to the Sherman. So a lot of the places we're going to, I mean, other than like Clinton Road, places like that, we are the ones that are finding out, is there anything here? Like St. Peter's Cemetery, I don't recall if that had been investigated before, but we had a crazy, crazy night there.
Yeah, that
And
was
it's
just
just so
full of
cool
legend.
being one of the first people to go in and say, we found something. Not just going in and say, yeah, we saw what you saw. We found something, and now you can go see if you can find what we found.
Wow. John, let's have you talk about that one. And Andy, I'll try to fill you in since you can't hear him too well, kind of where we're at. But can you tell us about this cemetery?
So the cemetery holds the remains of a family that was connected to a Native American Indian raid. Two of the people were actually murdered during the raid, and they were actually buried in this cemetery. We could not find their headstones because the cemetery was just so vast. But we had other experiences and found different people that wanted to talk. Andy at one point started hearing like walking between the stones, and he kind of just started following it. And before he realized it, he was like almost 300 yards away from me, over on the other side of the cemetery, and it kept walking, like it was trying to like lure him away from me
Oh, geez.
entirely.
Wow.
So,
He's telling us about the steps that you heard, and you started following these steps, and you ended up like quite a ways away from him, almost like
Yeah.
it was trying to lure you away.
Right.
That's kind of scary.
And we started out, we were one row in, about maybe 10 feet away from the street. Well, like 3 hours later, by the time we're about ready to wrap up, we're in the middle of the cemetery. We can't even see the street anymore. And everything that was happening was drawing us deeper and deeper in. And it was just one of those things that we could have stayed longer, but it was the feeling was getting, maybe we shouldn't go any further right now.
yeah, it
Because
was
it was
changing fast.
something was, I mean, all our videos that we've done are on YouTube, and you can go check out, see what we're talking about. It was just, it didn't feel right. I mean, the crazy things that happened that night. We heard singing and humming
Yeah.
and whistling loud. Like I was about probably 50 yards away from John at one point, and as I was walking closer to him, I'm thinking to myself, why is he singing in the middle of a cemetery? And then I get there, and he's like, "Do you hear that?" I'm like, "I thought it was you." And it was just the strangest thing. It was a lot of, like, for example, another thing we found, there was this one area, this is a splotch of dead grass. This big, just a perfect circle of dead grass. Everything else was, browning because it was, early November, but the rest of it was still somewhat green, but this was completely dead.
There
And
was
everything
no
around it was
grass at
okay. It
all.
was just really a lot of weird things. I'd love to go back there again. That was a really, really crazy night.
That sounds like it. To hear some whistling or just someone singing in a cemetery would be a little unnerving.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, do you guys do any cryptid type stuff? John? Let's go with you. Do you do any cryptid type stuff? Is there anything? Well, you're in the mountains, right? You're in a mountainous region.
Yeah.
So, if you do, what are the type of cryptids you're seeing over there or hearing about?
So what the cryptids that I've been finding out in our area, there's Basingu, which is the Pocono Mountains version of Bigfoot. There's not a lot of sightings of it, but there is actually one sighting that made local news because so many people actually had seen it, and it was running across Route 80 in the middle of the day, and a lot of people saw it as it was just running through the highway. Then there's um, other things like puckwudgies that I've come across. There's stories of puckwudgies. There's smoke people. That one's a little sinister. So the story behind that, it's a Lenape legend, but personally, I didn't know the story at the time, and I had an experience myself with this. I was out hunting, and it was early morning, about 4 a.m. Sun was just starting to come up, and there was fog, and I thought I was seeing people walking through the fog, but the legend states that these people try to lure you into the woods, and that's the last time any hunter's ever seen is when they're following these shadows in the fog. And there's also ghost lights that have been reported in the Pocono Plateau area, where it's usually spirits or spirits of lost people trying to keep either lost hunters or lost people in the woods on a trail, and like don't go off the trail type of thing. And then there was also another legend of a water serpent that was in the Delaware River that actually formed the Delaware River too, and because the Delaware River kind of just snakes around, and I think that's where that came from. That legend came from. It's just this giant river, and it just snakes its way through the mountains.
Wow.
It's a cool. There's a lot of good ones.
A lot of good ones there. Let's talk about some of the places that you would like to go. We always like to talk about bucket list places and places we'd like to go. So we always like to know where others like to go. What's a bucket list place for you, John, to go and investigate, be it even outdoors or a legend or paranormal?
Bucket list for me would have to be Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I have been interested with that place for the longest time. That place and Moundsville Prison.
Okay. Andy, I'm talking about bucket list, and John says Trans Allegheny is on his bucket list. What is a place for you, be it like a cryptid or even a paranormal place?
Well, I would love to. I'd love to see places like the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. But I mean, a loftier goal was I would love to go and investigate Lep Castle in Ireland. That is like a that's not a bucket list. That's an after you win the lottery list. But as far as around here, like I'd love like this, like I said, I'd love to see the Queen Mary and maybe check out the Winchester Mystery House one time.
So you want to get over to the other coast.
Yeah.
Lep Castle is our team. It's like, okay, what is your one in the States and what is your like overseas one? And Lep Castle is mine. I want to go there so bad. Oh man.
Yeah, there's two castles in Ireland I would love to see. One of them is Lep Castle and the other one is Charleville Castle.
Oh yeah. Yep. So anyone watching who doesn't know about Lep Castle has the Bloody Chapel. So you have the clan and you have the dad who dies, and then the two brothers. One was a warrior, one was a preacher, and they ended up in a fight in the chapel, and it was just horrible. So it is now the Bloody Chapel. So much going on there with shadow figures and the elemental that it has. Such a great place. So, are you guys more, when you go to investigate, do you want to know about the place? This is something I put out on our Facebook page yesterday or day before. Do you want to know some of the history before you go in, or do you want to go in blind?
Depends on the location. I'll be 100% honest with you. And sometimes I don't want to have a bias. I'd rather go in, do it, and then look up and try to connect the dots with the evidence from there. Other times, if it's something that that you already know about, I'm going in with some information to begin with. So
Andy, John's answer, because you guys can't hear each other or you can't hear him, was it's kind of depends on the location.
Right.
A lot of times he wants to go in blind, but if it's somewhere known, of course you have some of that history. Do you want to go in knowing some history or go in blind?
Well, I think it's again, it depends on the location. If we're going into a big place, like there's two of us, so if we're going to go into a big place and we're investigating, suppose we go into a hotel, we're investigating in the ballroom. Well, nothing ever happens there. Everything happens in the basement, or everything happens someplace else. Being a small team, I think it would behoove us to know at least the area, if not the stories, at least the area, so we don't waste our time in the ballroom when everything happens in the upstairs, maid closet. So
Right.
I don't really want to know what it is, but it like I said, depending if it's a larger location with two people, it's harder to cover. So I think it's good to know at least where, if not what, we're there for.
Right. At least the hot spots. So you're not
Right.
wasting a bunch of time trying to find them. I think that's fair. Depending, you guys have such a a further history than we do in the West. You know, we're in Wyoming, so you know you're going out there, and my wife had gone into Boston, and she was seeing gravestones from the 1600s, and we just don't see that out here, right? So I think we tend to know more history of what's been going on in the area because it's so much younger out here than it is back there. So maybe you don't get that full details of what's going on in a location, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's not too bad to know. At least the hot spots is always good. Again, just so you're not wasting time. Yeah. So what are you guys looking to do in the next year? What's the goal for Pocono Regional Paranormal?
Oh, definitely we want to expand what we're doing already. We're going to do some more videos. We've been talking about doing like a haunted road trip. We've been tossing around. And I think we're actually going to pull the trigger on it. Doing the Villisca Axe Murder House, Malvern Manor, and Sally House in one trip.
Nice. Of course, Andy can't hear him, so he's talking about a paranormal road trip hitting the infamous places: Sally House, Malvern Manor, Villisca. Anything you're thinking of for Pocono Regional in the next year that you guys want to do?
Well, there's things that have come up recently. We've started doing some of our posts have gotten not only paranormal history of a lot of these locations, but the history behind like for instance, the other day we did a story on the Tannersville Inn, and that led down a rabbit hole to the Learn family and the Learn family massacre, and then what life was like on the frontier during the Civil War. I'm sorry, the Revolutionary War. So I would really like. There's not a lot of them that are still up, but I'd like to see if we could get into some of these places around here, like the Lake House or another place we've wanted to get into, but they weren't really interested in us was the Pocono Indian Museum, which is a very long and storied history. But a very funny story about our road trip. I was at work one day. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I was putting in an order, and John said, "I think I know where we can go." And he said, I know where we can go. It's about $200." And, oh, well, I don't care where it is. We're going. And I'm saying to myself, there's only one place I won't go. And wouldn't you know it, I always said I didn't want to go to the Villisca Axe Murder House. But then I thought to myself, that's kind of selfish. It's something that it's not a thing that is more like I'm not afraid to go. It's just that's something so much darker than anything we've ever dealt with. Like we've been to again Hungry Hill, and that story is very, very sad. But this, Villisca, is just another level. And
Right.
I began to think, and John's like, I know you said you wouldn't go, but what do you think? And I said, you know what? Let's do it. And then that Villisca became Malvern as well. And I said, John, Atchison, Kansas is only about 2 hours away from Villisca. He said, really? What's there? I said, Sally's house. He said, no, and it's just, if we're going to be out there, you got to risk it for the biscuit. Let's go to all of them if we can. And
Atchison is also McIntyre Villa, which is
yes,
phenomenal.
Right.
Yeah. So you have Sally, you have McIntyre. Yeah. All those are within that small area.
and then there's other places around here. Like we've been trying every time we make an appointment to go down, and something always happens. We've been trying to go down to a place in Alamucci, New Jersey called Shades of Death Road. And there's plenty. That's another Clinton Road esque type place with a lot of the hitchhikers, the Phantom police cars, Ghost Lake. Um, right next door to it is a beautiful park called Jenny Jump State Park, a beautiful park with a very, very sad backstory again. But there's so much around here that, like I said, if we could find some way to get a hold of the proprietors of the lake house, or if we can make another pitch to the Indian Museum. I would love to get into someplace like that around here, because our viewers, our followers have just been. John hit a nerve when he started these posts. Like, he did the first couple, and then he said, "Well, do you have any ideas what you want to do?" And we started putting in these posts of Buck Hill Manor, the Indian Museum, um, the lake house. And not only are people really enjoying it, but they're sharing it. And the people that are reading it after they shared it are sharing it as well. And I think, I mean, I don't think it's, I don't think it's wrong to say that a lot of these people that have read about it, well, maybe they'd like to see an investigation there. And these are places that they don't really let that many people into. I mean, the lake house has actually become, around Halloween, it becomes the Hotel of Horrors. It's actually a haunted attraction. But in the off season, it just remains there empty. So, I mean, if anybody watching this, or if the proprietors happen to be watching this, we'd love to come check it out, and hit us up.
Get some new places.
Absolutely.
Jillian has a question here. Have you investigated Hipsy Gap? Before you answer this, she also over here in the comments says, "Hi guys, I live in the Poconos and I'm super into the paranormal. I have a few beginner pieces of equipment, but I would love to know how to be able to investigate more places and meet other people." Um, I, I'm going to throw this out there because we're all about helping others in the paranormal field.
Yes.
We read and hear about all this drama over on your coast, and I really think the Mississippi breaks this up. And out here, we have done collab event with 10 teams in a building. So we're all about helping and connecting people. So I hope you don't mind, but Jillian, send these guys a message on their Facebook page.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
maybe y'all can connect and investigate together. Like, it never hurts to see how someone else investigates, right? So, yeah, and I hope I didn't overstep by saying to contact you guys, but I would hope that
Oh, absolutely
we're all
not.
in this together.
Para unity.
There you go. So Hipsy Gap. Do you guys know about this?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Very well.
Let's hear it. John, let's hear from you, because Andy, I know you can't hear him, but
Certainly. I actually have very, very personal ties to Hipsy Gap. I lived very close to it when I was younger. And when I used to hunt on Hipsy Gap Road. And this goes back to the smoke people that I had told you about earlier. That's where I saw the smoke, the people in the fog, was off of Hipsy Gap Road. There is a lot of recorded death on that road. There was a hunter by the name of Lee Van Luvender, which it is still an unsolved murder. And this is going on 15 years now. He was by his vehicle and he was ambushed, and I believe it was somewhere around like 60 shots were fired, and he was just left in the road to die. There was also been a skull that was found in a trash bag off of the road, and then all the way at the other end of the road. This is like a 7-mile stretch road that goes through the middle of nowhere. There's no houses on this road. It's a dark road, and it just runs right through the state game lands. And all the way at the other end in Jackson Township, there was a torso found with all the tattoos removed, which kind of seemed a little gang-like.
sounds gangish or mobbish.
Yeah. And those three events happened within the past 20 years. Now there's also stories that I remember hearing from the old timers in the area about in the 70s and 80s, you would see a black Cadillac or two going down that road and then coming back up. And that wasn't an unusual thing. And there is a lot of places back there where if you wanted something to go missing, you could make it go missing real easy. Um, Part of the road is on the side of a mountain. So um, best way to describe it, it's like you're hugging the mountain and you look down the one side and it's just a drop. It's just a sheer drop. And the potholes are probably the size of this desk that I'm sitting at right now.
Oh, geez.
Just as deep.
Wow. That sounds like
Um,
a cool place. Like lots of stuff going on, and you could definitely maybe catch something.
Absolutely. There's also a bunch of trails back there too. It's a beautiful place to go hiking as well. Um, Andy and I were actually just out there this past weekend,
Oh,
and because we were doing a little something for a video, an upcoming video, and we didn't get anything. We were more just talking about the history of the road and whatnot. And there's an enormous lake there. It's called Grass Lake, and we were walking it, and my mind actually went right back to some of those Lenape legends. And I'm looking how marshy it is there, and I look at Andy and I go, I wonder if some of those ghost lights that people used to see back in the day were actually like methane pockets, the swamp
right.
gas. It makes me think every time I'm going. All the stories that
Wow.
we've heard.
Yeah, he gave us quite the list of rundown of things along that road, and Grass Lake, and you guys were just out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty interesting place. Maybe that's somewhere you guys and Jillian can get together and check it out. That'd be cool.
I'm not sure
Certainly.
if he mentioned it to you or not, but when we went on our hike into the woods, we both were recording, and he said he was going to post his. He was going to do a little editing and post his on our Facebook page, and I put all our raw video on our YouTube page. And he told me later on that night, okay, the video's on Facebook. Go check it out. And we had our little intro, and that was it. And I said, John, it's a great intro, but I didn't see the video. And he said oh, let me go check. And somehow the video that he just took and the entire thing he had shot was gone. It just wasn't on his phone anymore.
Yeah, it was all gone.
So I don't know if that's paranormal or not, but it's pretty strange.
Wow. That's yeah, that's pretty crazy. We've had some stuff like that happen too, where we've gone to edit some stuff and next thing you know, it's just gone or corrupted. Um, that is cool. We did a local museum. We had access to the vault, 2,500 square foot vault. There's enough stuff in the vault that this guy could open another museum, and it's private owned. Super awesome guy. Everyone local knows him. He's like 80, I think he just turned 84. So we set up 2 cameras and 2 recorders, 2 digital recorders, and you can tell by the timing that whatever it was, it shut them all off, but it did it in a sequence, and you can tell the timing between each shut off. Like it walked around the room and shut off the recorder,
Oh
shut
wow.
off the camera, shut off a recorder, walked over, shut off the camera. So they're all 5 to 10 seconds apart from each other.
Yeah,
That's
nice.
incredible.
And then corrupted the video, all the video on one. Like Jason, he's a cybersecurity guy, and he had to go in and like all this forensic stuff to get the video out and get it. It was really interesting how we could time all the shut off.
Right.
Yeah, so crazy. So people can find you on Facebook, right? That's how I found you. Pocono
sir.
Regional Paranormal. And then same for the YouTube channel.
There's actually 2 YouTube channels.
Okay.
One of them, they're both Pocono Regional Paranormal, and they have the same thumbnail for the profile. One of them has a few Lester videos, the other one has all our raw videos. But definitely check them both out. We had something we were starting out a few years ago that we haven't been able to update again since then. But we wanted to start something called Haunted Poconos, and that's where that episode is. And there's a few other things. I got a couple bloopers on that page. It's pretty funny. But yeah, definitely both of them are Pocono Regional Paranormal. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we'll be sure to, of course, we just let people know. I'll put a post up that people can find you over there too. And then if you guys post anything new, we'll be sure to try to get people over to your page and let them see all that new stuff.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Very good.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. We've had some great comments in there. Jillian, Anthony, please reach out to Pocono Regional Paranormal's page. I know I sent a message through there to contact you guys so you can get those. I would love to know if you guys go out and investigate with her. So if y'all end up, just shoot us a message. Hey, we did meet up with her. I think it's super cool that we were able to maybe make that connection. Sounds like y'all have a lot of cool places to investigate.
Absolutely.
Next time you're out in Pennsylvania, shoot us a text.
Yep. And she just said, thanks guys. Awesome to hear from you. So she'll reach out, I'm sure. Yeah. I was telling John before the show, we were just out there in July. It kind of started out as a trip for the wife and I to go to Gettysburg. We threw it out to the rest of our team. So we flew into Baltimore, drove up, stayed just outside of Gettysburg, and we're in there every day. Investigated a couple nights in Gettysburg, did the tour. Mark Nesbitt was a park ranger and has all the Haunted Gettysburg books or Ghosts of Gettysburg books. We've had him on the show. That place is amazing. We absolutely love it. And we're talking, maybe a trip out there every couple of years, but, I don't know how far that distance is, but maybe if we find somewhere in between us, we can do an investigation.
Sounds great.
For sure.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm going to throw you into the green room. I'll catch up with you after I close out the show.
Thanks a lot. Stay spooky,
Thank
guys.
you guys.
Oh, good guys. That was a great show. I say great every week because our guests are great. We love having them on. We love talking spooky. We love talking paranormal, cryptids. We talk about it all. Unfortunately, Jason wasn't able to make it tonight. He had a work thing happen. I know he would have loved to chat with these guys. We make it out that way. We'll hit you up. You guys are awesome guys, and we like to investigate with other teams. Thank everyone for watching tonight. I am going to try to get the outro, and y'all have a good night. Maybe I'm not.
Unraveling the Darkness would like to thank Horn Paranormal Research for sponsoring our show. If you're craving more paranormal content, don't forget to check out our YouTube and Facebook channels at Way Out West Paranormal and Unraveling the Darkness. You can catch all of our episodes of Unraveling the Darkness on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe as it helps others find the show and join in on the paranormal fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep your lights on, stay safe, and remember, the truth is out there, and it might just be closer than you think. Unraveling the Darkness would like to thank Horn Paranormal Research for sponsoring our show. If you're craving more paranormal content, don't forget to check out our YouTube and Facebook channels at Way Out West Paranormal and Unraveling the Darkness. You can catch all of our episodes of Unraveling the Darkness on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe as it helps others find the show and join in on the paranormal fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep your lights on, stay safe, and remember, the truth is out there, and it might just be closer than you think.